It was a cold October night when I first heard the whispers. I had recently moved into an old Victorian house in a small town in New England, a house that had been empty for years. The locals told me stories, but I dismissed them as superstitions. I loved the creaky floors and the drafty windows. It felt like stepping back in time. On my second night, I was reading in the living room when I heard it, a faint whisper, almost indistinguishable from the sound of the wind. At first, I thought it was just my imagination. But as the night went on, the whispers grew louder, and I could almost make out words. It sounded like a woman, pleading, desperate. I tried to ignore it, chalking it up to the house settling. But then, I saw her. At the top of the grand staircase stood a woman in a long, tattered dress, her face pale and eyes hollow. She stared at me with such sorrow that it chilled me to the bone. And then, as quickly as she appeared, she vanished. Shaken, I decided to do some research on the house. I discovered that a woman named Eliza had lived there over a century ago. She was said to have gone mad after her husband and child died in a tragic accident. Rumor had it that she never left the house, even in death. Determined to rid myself of the haunting, I set out to uncover the truth. I found old letters and diary entries hidden in the attic, detailing Eliza's descent into madness. She believed her husband and child were trapped in the house, their spirits unable to move on. Her last entry was a desperate plea for help, begging anyone who found her writings to set her family free. That night, the whispers returned, louder and more insistent. I could hear Eliza's voice, begging me to help her. Gathering my courage, I followed the whispers to the basement, a place I had avoided since moving in. The air grew colder as I descended, and the smell of damp earth filled my nostrils. In the far corner of the basement, I found an old, locked chest. With trembling hands, I pried it open, revealing a small box containing 2 silver lockets, each engraved with a name, John and Mary. As I held them, the whispers turned to cries of gratitude. The air around me grew warmer, and for a moment, I felt a presence, comforting and kind. The next day, I took the lockets to the local cemetery and buried them beside the graves of John and Mary. That night, the house was silent. No whispers, no apparitions. I knew then that Eliza and her family had finally found peace. To this day, I still live in that old Victorian house. It's quiet now, but sometimes, on cold October nights, I think I can still hear a faint whisper of gratitude carried on the wind.